Hello and welcome back to the Now We Know Show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest, and by the end we will have learned something new, and hopefully you will too. I'm Zach.
And I'm Buzz.
In today's episode, we will kick off, as always, with Word of the Week, followed by a curious development from our previous podcast, Devonshire Folklore. We will then have our Now We Know Show flashback, leading into our main segment all about fitness and staying on track, all before we round up with the answer to Word of the Week and a special teaser for the next episode.
Sounds fascinating.
If you enjoy the Now We Know Show podcast, why not support Zak Wylde Productions on our Patreon page? Become an official ZWP patron for as little as £1 a month for exclusive early access to all our latest episodes, videos, behind the scenes, updates and more. So it's that time again. Word of the Week.
It's Word of the Week time already.
Word of the Week. 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 Word of the Week.
Word of the Week.
Anyway, Word of the Week is all about old English words we don't use anymore. All you have to do is write down what you think it means in the comments. We will then reveal what it means at the end of the episode so you can find out if you got it right.
Right, what's it going to be this week, Zachy?
Okie dokie. So, the word of the week this week is, you're going to like this one,
Am I?
expurge factor.
Expurge factor.
All one word.
All one word. Okay.
Spelled EXPERGEFACTOR. Expurge factor.
Expurge factor. Okay, well. Okay.
Any ideas?
I kind of got half of it. If in this word, the word factor part means the same as the word factor means.
Okie dokie.
Like
Well,
X factor.
okay.
Expurge
Okay.
factor.
Okay. We'll revisit this at the end of the podcast.
The key thing here, I'm thinking, is the expurge.
You'll like it. You'll like it.
I'm going to like it.
Find out at the end of the episode. So I did say we had a development from our previous podcast, which is about Devonshire Folklore.
You did. Pray tell, what is this?
So we had a comment.
A comment? We had a comment?
Yes, we did.
Well done, comment person.
Do you want to know the name?
I want to know the comment person's name.
Brilliant name. Cannibal Predator 666.
Cannibal Predator 666. Well, thank you, Cannibal Predator 666, for making a comment.
So they commented,
What did they comment?
the myth starts with a man who had his hands blown off at Powder Mills, which was a gunpowder plot up the river. So that's in reference to
the
hairy hands of Dartmoor, which we had rather a lot of fun discussing
Yes,
in the previous episode.
Unfortunately, and we kind of lost it a bit.
A tiny bit.
Because it was so funny.
It was. If you haven't listened to that podcast, please go check it out.
Please do. I think I've just about recovered a week later from that one.
So, very brief Now We Know Show flashback.
Okay.
Cast your minds back to the beginning of January 2023. Still in January.
We're still in January,
It was
just about.
2 weeks ago. 2 weeks
2
ago.
weeks ago, yeah.
Where we had our first podcast
Of the year.
Yes, and it was about fitness.
Good old fitness, 1st of January. You know
So-
what we're talking about here?
We're flashing back to that part.
We're flashing back.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we're remembering that.
Yes. we
Okay.
are. So this is this podcast this week is basically a follow-up to that one, isn't it?
Yes. Why do you think it's important to revisit the fitness topic so soon after we first had our first podcast on it?
Well, obviously, if you listen to the first podcast, and which, please, if you haven't, go and listen to the first podcast of the year about fitness. It's that time of the year where everybody suddenly says, hey, I've eaten too much. I need to do something about this. Christmas is over. Start the new year afresh. New Year's resolutions.
New Year's, new me.
Yeah, let's go for it. Hoo-ha. And, of course, you get that initial enthusiasm. And now we're heading to the end of January, where usually, as a gym goer myself, we see the drop-off.
We did, yes,
The
that's very
attrition.
interesting.
People start flagging, start losing interest. They've maybe gone too hard, too fast. And so it's important to have this follow-up episode on fitness because we want to encourage you to stick with it at this stage. If you have stuck with it or you're starting to waver, that's what this week is about.
Don't waver. Keep at it. Stay on track.
Stay on target.
There you go. You said it.
I did.
Okay, so Obviously, we might cover some of the things we visited in the previous episode.
It might be reasonable to say that we might need to touch base on some of those things.
Definitely, especially for new listeners.
Yeah.
So I've got a list of questions, as you are a qualified personal trainer and nutritionalist.
Yes.
And I'm going to basically ask you a few questions as kind of conversation starters throughout this podcast, and we're going to see where it takes us.
I think that is a good idea, because as I always say, the stupidest question is the one that you don't ask. I always encourage questions. Ask me loads of questions. That's what I've always told my guys in fitness classes and in martial arts classes. Just hit me with the questions, because that keeps me on my toes, and hopefully it will keep you in the know.
Okay, so first question.
Hit me with it.
So in the first podcast, we did mention a lot about exercise in relation to everyone.
Yep.
But this is a more personal question. Personally, what motivates you to exercise?
That's a very good question. Indeed, that's a very good question, because obviously I'm a PT and I need to get my motivation to get me in the gym or get me out doing exercise as much as anybody. And that's what we're talking about here. It's a motivation. So for me, it's, I don't consider myself to be any different from anybody else. Apart from, obviously, I walked the path of getting my qualifications to be a personal trainer. But I find that when I do exercise, the benefits that I reap from that, the enjoyment and the afterglow, if you like, I always feel uplifted. I feel as if I've achieved something every time that I've gone out and I've hit a gym session, or I've gone out for a cycle, or whatever I've done.
Yeah, do you feel like you've worked hard?
I've worked hard, and it feels good.
Yeah, and it's understanding that fact.
It feels good, but I also completely understand if you have had a hard day at work, or you're not feeling too great, or the weather's not brilliant, and for lots of different factors are involved that make you think, I'm not going to bother today. I'm not going to go and I'm not going to go out for that run. I'm not going to go on the bike. I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm going to treat myself to a night off. Well, I think the thing is, over the years of fitness training, I've come to realise that to take that night off isn't actually a treat.
No.
It's a denying myself
Yeah,
a
and I
treat.
think that I've obviously gone to the gym a lot with you.
You have. You've
and
grown up.
I have kind of taken on that trait of, I'm not going to the gym today. I feel like I am now missing out from the fitness I could have gained. Yeah,
you could have gained, and I think that's where you need to get yourself to when you're doing any kind of fitness program.
Yeah, it's also kind of like a mental thing, isn't it?
It is mental. Well, all fitness is both physical and mental, and that's what I'm talking about. The mental benefits, not just the physical benefits, are kind of like the byproduct of enjoying yourself doing a physical activity, whether that is, as I say, cycling, canoeing, skiing, ice skating, you name it.
Rock climbing.
Whatever you do, the physical benefits are, fantastic, but it's the what you get out of it mentally that is even more important, I find. So when I personally feel, I don't know if I don't feel like I can get to the gym tonight, and I say, no, I'm going to do it. I'll go to the gym. 10 minutes in to being at the gym, whatever issues I've had during the day, I've stopped thinking about it.
You're focusing on the moment,
my
doing your
endorphins
exercise.
have started to kick in. I am just feeling really great, and by the end of the session, I just feel so good. And you think, I am so pleased that
That's where you want to be.
I'm so pleased I went to the gym and I did this session, rather than saying, I'm going to treat myself to a night off, because, as I say, actually at the end of the day, it's not a treat. You're kidding. You're giving yourself reasons in your head to not do something. Yet when you do it, you think you're so much better off for having done that, both physically and mentally. And of course, the other great thing about going and hitting the gym or doing those physical exercises, well, for me especially, when I get home, I'm kind of like all pumped up, buzzing, and people will, for example, saying about, I'll have a treat and have a night off. People might say, there's a particular TV series that comes on. And the reason I bring this up, because I was at the gym earlier this week, and in between sets, back in the old days, we didn't have mobile phones. So in between sets, you just listen to your music, or have a chat with another gym buddy or somebody like that. And you didn't do anything. But these days, everybody's straight on their phone,
Yeah.
checking the phone, which is okay, but it also can impact upon your training.
Yeah, it's when it becomes that kind of habit,
Yeah.
isn't it? You
Well,
keep looking at your phone.
I get a bit annoyed with people that they're on the benches.
Oh, like the weight benches.
The weight benches, and I've been waiting for a weight bench, and I've been there like 5 minutes, 10 minutes since they last did a set, and they've just sitting there on the phone. It's like, get off the bench. Anyway,
Yeah, it's all right to have a break between sets, of course.
yeah, of course it is. So yeah, having it's a 3-minute break between your
That's
sets.
fine.
So I go on. I went on my phone on Monday.
Yeah.
A good friend of ours, Glenn, he posted up about a TV series called The Last of Us.
Oh yeah.
And I think it was the second episode out.
Oh yeah, that's good.
And I'd forgotten that it was coming on the TV. But you see, there's the factor. There is the point where you can be at home and you can say, oh, I've got that new episode coming out tonight.
I'll stay home.
I'll stay home. But that's not an excuse these days.
No.
And it's not an excuse because you can watch these things at any time.
Anytime you want.
Back in the day, if you were a soap fan or when I was your age, I was watching things like Red Dwarf.
Yeah, I thought you were going to mention that.
And if you missed it, you missed it. So we're living now in an age where the TV really isn't an excuse not to do something.
Catch up streaming.
So I said, oh yeah, I've forgotten about that, so I'll watch that when I get back. And that's what I mean. So I've been to the gym, feeling great. Any stress I've had through the day has just been blown away.
Melted.
I'm coming out of there, I am feeling absolutely buzzed. Get back.
Pardon the pun.
Pardon the pun. Get back home, and of course, because I'm all, buzzed up, I don't necessarily want to go to bed straight away. So then I can enjoy that excuse that I might have given of, I'm not going to go to the gym tonight because I want to watch this program.
Yeah.
Fine, I'll just watch the program. And that's the great thing. When you get home, I tend to go to the gym late. So I go to the gym about 7:30. Usually get back about 10. Gym shuts at 10, but I usually get back home by about 10 o'clock. And then I have that hour before I want to hit the sack because I'm just too awake to go to sleep. And so watching a simple program like that is a good come down from being in the gym. You can't watch a movie too long. We have so many of these programs you can watch these days. So I'll watch a program, and then I feel as if I've almost achieved two things because not only have I gone to the gym, but I've also treated myself to watching
double treat.
Double treat. But the third treat comes when I go to bed because, boy, I sleep so well.
Sleep like a bear.
Yeah, I just curl up in my little bear
blanket cave,
go to sleep and have the best night's sleep because I got off my butt and went and did some exercise. Whereas you can say, I'm going to just have a night off. I'm going to sit in the armchair, relax, watch a bit of TV, whatever. And then when it comes to bedtime, then you can have a restless night because really you've spent the whole evening basically not doing it.
And you haven't de-stressed.
You haven't de-stressed and things are zipping around in your brain. Go to the gym, get there, hit the sack, boom, you're out of it till your alarm clock goes off in the morning. It's a win-win situation. So my motivation for going is not to look at glossy magazines and to see images of fit men and saying, I've got a six-pack and I'm ripped and look at me, and all the rest of it. And I suppose the same goes for the ladies. They're looking at glossy magazines and saying, this is what's perceived to be the image of perfection. And
despite Photoshop.
Yeah, despite Photoshop. Ignore all that stuff because it's the benefits you feel mentally from going out and doing an exercise. And it could be not going to the gym. It could be you are going to a martial arts class, or you're going to a dance class, or you're doing something. You've got a friend or a couple of friends you can go and play badminton with. And again, it's very easy not to allow yourself into that, I'm not going to go tonight.
Yeah, and it's all, again, as we said in the previous podcast, about keeping it up.
So, but you need to keep that motivation as an individual.
Yeah, it's very personal.
And the reason I say that is because you can be motivated by having a buddy. Like I say, you might have a buddy that you go and play squash with or badminton, yeah?
Yeah.
Or even just you both go swimming together.
Well, I like going to the gym. I like talking to you, and I like talking to Jack.
Yeah. So you've got that factor that if you have a buddy, that they can encourage you. I say, come on, don't have a night off. let's both go, let's get it. And you go, oh, well, all right, then I'll go. But it also works the opposite way. When you have somebody who says, do you know, I don't feel like going tonight, and the other person is going, do you know, if you're not going, then
maybe I shouldn't.
Maybe I shouldn't bother either.
No, do it. Do it.
So, yeah, whereas you would have gone, you end up not going because your buddy's not going to go.
Right.
So having a buddy can be both motivational, but it also can stop you from doing it. So you've really got to say, if my buddy's coming with me, that's great, but I've got to do this regardless of that. Unless it's a thing where you need a second partner, such as playing squash or something. Otherwise, you need to find that motivation as an individual.
Yeah.
And for me, as you asked me, why do I go? It's the way it makes me feel. Yeah, the way it makes me feel. I'm not going there and, checking out my shape and everything in the mirrors and flexing. And
well, at least not all the time.
Not all the time. Some of the time. but it's just the way.
It's a feeling. It makes you feel
mental,
good. Makes you
feel
mental
good. Feeling that I have, and the way I feel complete at the end of having a workout session, and that's what motivates me. And that's not hard.
No.
Once you find that mindset,
when you find that mentality,
then it's easy. And as you said, last little bit on this question, as you said, once you reach that mindset, then if you don't go, you feel as if you're missing out.
Yeah.
So what you find, you've gone up the ladder and you've reached a level where it isn't, or it's not hard to go. It's not hard to. You're actually going to find it so much easier to say, well, actually, it's harder to say I'm not going and I'm going to sit down and have an evening off.
Yeah.
That actually becomes harder than going to the gym.
Okay, next question.
Hope that answers your question.
Next question.
Okay.
Right,
Got another question.
Well, you actually got 5.
Way, I like questions. That's what I already said.
We talked about reversibility in our previous podcast.
Okay.
How is it best to overcome it when injured?
Right. Okay. So yeah, we've hit the gym. It's January 1st. We've decided new year, new me. And of course, we can have things that set us back. And when we're talking about
reversibility,
basically it's exercise reversibility. That's what we call it.
We did cover this in our previous podcast, but do you want to remind the viewers?
Just a recap. So when you have the term exercise reversibility, it basically means that if you're somebody and you're going and you're doing a physical exercise that's benefiting you both physically and mentally, if you stop, and the reason that you stop could be, many different factors involved in that. For example, illness, or as you say, injury, or that simple, like we just spoke about, that loss of motivation, or you've suddenly got a commitment to some kind of other activity.
It could be a work or something.
Yeah, the costs related in certain sports and activities, especially in this day and age with the cost of living. Could be as simple as the weather. You look out the window, or even that you've got travel plans. So you're going off for 2 weeks holiday and things like that.
Right.
So lots of factors can cause exercise reversibility, and basically what that means is once you stop exercising, then your body will start losing the benefits from that exercise. Okay, so you might ask, how quickly do I start losing the fitness that I've gained? Well, to be honest with you, it starts probably about 3 to 5 days after your last exercise session.
It's kind of like topping up the tank.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we discussed daily active living, which is just the movement that you do every day. The movement that you do every day from the moment you get out of bed to the moment you get in bed is your daily active living, and that is always going to run at a certain level, unless you have an injury. Like I fractured my ankle, you fracture your ankle and you're on crutches, and then that daily activity drops. So again, you can't maintain that level. If a factor comes in that stops you going for your regular gym sessions, then again, that's when exercise reversibility starts to kick in. So to go to your specific point on your question about how to overcome it when you're injured, obviously that you've put your work in. You've been pursuing your exercise through, maybe it's just from the beginning of January and you've reached the end of January and you've pulled a muscle, or
Prime example, I was doing gymnastics, practicing to do the splits, I pulled my hamstring.
Exactly.
It's like taking a step back almost.
And there was another occasion you twisted your ankle, but that wasn't even in the training, was it?
No.
That was just out and about.
Yeah.
And myself, I mentioned briefly that I fractured my ankle. I've had loads of injuries, shoulder injuries, wrist injuries, knee injuries. But my biggest injury, if you like, was when I fractured my ankle in a wrestling tournament.
All right, it's not a competition.
No, it's not a competition, but I've had so many occasions over my life so far where I have hit that wall and faced exercise reversibility and have had to come over, get over it and get past it.
Next, you're standing here now, you've overcome all of those challenges, and you're still going back to the gym.
Still going back to the gym. And it's because I am a total 100% believer in the fact that it's because I keep going to the gym, because I keep doing physical activities, they have helped me to recover much faster. Again, to put that into perspective, when I fractured my ankle, I was not the only person that fractured their ankle. You suddenly find that you're at exactly the same time you injure yourself, loads of other people have. And I remember this one chap where I'd fractured my ankle in the wrestling tournament. He'd fractured his ankle because he was on a little step stool watering a hanging basket, and the stool slipped and he fell off the stool and fractured his ankle. So we both ended up in the hospital at the same time. However, a year later, and I mean literally 12 months later, because obviously you go through rehab.
Yeah.
By the end of that 12 months, I was back up and running. Literally running. Now my whole foot had detached from my leg.
Oof.
And so it was bolted and screwed.
And this was wrestling, did you say?
This was wrestling, yeah. I twisted and my foot just snapped. Both.
Sounds like there's a story.
There's a big story.
Big story. Not in this podcast, maybe another one.
But that all bolted together. So we're not, it's not like a hairline fracture. This was major. My foot's flopping around, detached from my body, and they bolted and screwed it all back together. And by the end of 12 months, I was back running. But because you go back to rehab and you're being checked every so often, so you get to meet the same people again.
Yeah.
This chap in 12 months was still on his crutches.
Wow.
And he hadn't had such a serious injury as I had. But it's about how much effort you want to put into that. I mean, there might be some other factors involved. But I believe that if you push it, stay focused and stick with the program, you'll recover much quicker.
Yeah, don't push it too hard though.
No. So, you've got to be realistic with these things. You don't want to aggravate an injury. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There might be other factors that are involved you might have an illness or, something that plays a factor, and you've got to take time out.
Yeah, you want to promote that healing process.
Yes, you have to.
By using it within a certain limit.
Yeah, but if it's a localized injury, so like my ankle or a shoulder or a wrist or a knee or something like that, you might not be able to do what you did before, but that's when you use adaptation.
Yeah, and those slow goals.
Slow goals. So you say, okay, I can't hit what I was doing. Every time I go to the gym, I usually start my gym session off with either 20 minutes on an orbital trainer to get the blood pumping round, warm everything up, or I do 20 minutes on a treadmill and get everything going. Now, if I had my ankle injury, I wouldn't be doing either of those. Yeah. So I'd need to get in and find an adaptation, something else that I can do.
Yeah, something lighter.
Yeah, something lighter, or something where I could sit down and use my upper body, and work. You find adaptations in exercises to be able to do things. I had a friend of mine, Tom, came in this week, and he's suffering from a shoulder injury at the moment. So I said, "Oh, well, are you doing legs?" And he said, "Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm focusing on my legs, focusing on my abs, because he can do his core and he can do his legs, and he can let his shoulder heal up."
Oh, we'll have to invite him into the podcast.
And as that injury starts to heal, then of course you need to start exercising it to get it.
Yeah, you need to use it to kind of promote that healing.
To promote the healing and to strengthen the muscles and the ligaments and the tendons.
Yeah, telling the body that I'm going to be using this more. Yeah. Oh, I better start healing.
Yeah, so you need to let it heal, but at the same time you need to move it. So on the ankle injury, it was, I need to flex it. I need to start stepping up steps and down steps. I still get it strong again, and as well as getting it strong, all the ligaments are tightened up, and I needed to get those moving to get the flexibility in the joint again and everything else. So yeah, you can have things which will cause exercise reversibility, but we can overcome those. To put it simply, we can try to overcome those with adaptation in what we do.
Yeah.
There you go.
Next question.
Thick and fast tonight. Yeah, I'm enjoying this.
Is fitness accessible to everyone? What are some of the barriers that prevent people from pursuing exercise?
Right. Well, yes. In the first instance, exercise is available for everyone because, again, I'm harking on about the same thing. When you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed, every movement is exercise. So it's up to you as an individual to choose the intensity
of that
exercise, of that movement that you're going to take on board. If I'm going to the gym to do resistance training, that's just a certain type of movement. If I'm going to the gym and getting on a treadmill or an orbital machine, that's a different type of movement. Working cardiovascular as well, and so it's the exercise intensity. But everybody can access exercise, but there might be personal factors which hold them back. Personal factors might be, because they have a disability of some sort. So we need to look at adaptation. When I was a martial arts instructor, I still am a martial arts instructor, but when I was running a club, I might have a student that wants to come and they want to do martial arts, but they're in a wheelchair.
But you've got to cater to that.
I have to cater to that. It's called equity in sports. So I need to make sure that that person can participate as much as they can safely within that sport. It would be completely wrong of me or any other martial arts instructor or personal trainer to turn somebody away for any reason just because they've got a disability. You look at their disability, you have a chat with them, see what they are happy to do, what they can't do, and then you start building from that base. But there are other factors. So it might not be a physical disability, it could be a mental issue that prevents somebody going to do exercise. Probably at this time of year, one of the most common ones that comes up is that people say, I don't want to go to the gym because the gym's going to be full of gym bunnies.
So it's a confidence issue.
It's confidence. They have a lack of body confidence. They feel as if, if somebody is maybe overweight, that they are going to be seen in the gym and people are going to look at them and in some reason poke fun at them and be, oh God, have you seen that person over there? Do you know, I've never seen that happen.
No.
I have never. Anybody that does that, they shouldn't even be at the gym, that pokes fun at people. People become very, very self-conscious. But in the reality, everybody else at the gym
they're focusing on them.
They're focusing on themselves. They're not paying attention to anybody else in the gym. And in fact, I'd say it works the other way. You get most people that are in the gym and they'd say, good on that person,
Yeah.
Look at him or her, 100% credit to that person because they've come in here and they've got on that step machine.
They've persisted with it as well.
And they're sticking with it. And, in fact, rather than being...
seeing it as a negative, see it as a positive.
Rather than the individual that unfortunately feels maybe self-conscious in themselves, actually everybody that is noticing them at the gym is probably having completely different thoughts and thinking, good on them, well done. Yeah. So there's that mental factor that can put people off, and that's why you can, when it comes to sports accessibility for all people, you need to find the right thing. We keep saying about the gym, but the gym might not be the right thing for some people. So you need to kind of have a look around and see what suits you, because at the end of the day, if the activity you're doing is not fun, as we said before, if it's not fun, you're not going to do it. And You're certainly not going to keep doing it. And unfortunately, I do find that's a factor in the gym. Sometimes people can come to the gym and be given a program. They've never been to the gym before. They're given a gym program. Take that sheet. I mean, these days, I dare say that
it's all digital.
It's all on their mobile
Apps
phone
and
or an
things.
app. But back in the day, you'd profile your client and you'd give them a sheet, a couple of sheets.
Well, I remember having to do that for the gym
it's still a thing, because I've got a chap at the gym that I go to who he still carries around his sheets with him. He's an advanced fitness guy, but he still likes having it all on paperwork, you know. He doesn't look at his phone. He just folds the sheet over. I've done this. I've ticked that off. I've ticked that off. So it's not completely unheard of these days.
Yeah, but it's personal, isn't it?
But if you give somebody a program, and that person's never been to the gym before.
Default program.
Default program, yeah. And then and you just leave them to it. They can very quickly get bored of that.
Especially if they don't like it.
Yeah, if they don't like it, or the exercises aren't right for them, or if they don't feel they're progressing, or the exercises are, they're not pushing them enough, or they're pushing them too hard. So it's the job of the fitness instructor or the PT to make sure that those clients are kept, excited,
enthralled, motivated.
Yeah, motivated in what they do. Other factors in making sports accessible for people, it might be gender, for example, and it could be religion. There's a lot of ladies who are, again, in different religions that won't go to the gym because it's full of men. Right. Yeah, or just ladies in general that don't like the idea of going to an environment that's full of sweaty men because that's the way they visualize it. But that's the great thing about having things like ladies' nights, because that it removes that. It removes that and gives people an environment where they can feel comfortable in doing,
which is important.
Things. Yeah, and a further thing is age. Age can be a factor.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Age can affect people's confidence, and again, it's like, I know I've referred to somebody, say, going to the gym who is overweight and they're feeling self-conscious, but you can have people that are older and they will feel self-conscious because of their age, that they are going to a gym and they're going to be surrounded by youngsters who are all going, oh, look at that old guy, look at that old lady, and again, it's that.
Yeah, but it's not about what other people think. It's
not
about you.
It's about you.
It's about the person, the individual.
However, since I bring that up, I have my own issues with that, because it's a good or a bad thing, I don't know. But just recently, since the beginning of January, I've had this repeated advert pop up on my Facebook timeline, which is encouraging older people to go to the gym.
Right.
And we've created this environment, it says in that advert, where you don't have to feel like you're being shouted at by an instructor to do the exercises, or to be being surrounded by young people looking at you. And we've created an environment to try and help you. Once again, you're able to bend down and play with the grandchildren type of thing. And then it's pointing to over 50s. And I'm thinking, hang on. I'm sorry.
What?
I'm 57. Okay, I'm 57. I go to the gym, if I can, minimum 3 times a week. I know not everybody's the same as me, but it really does annoy me when things. It's great that somebody's trying to encourage people to go and do exercises when they're older, but it also almost writes them off. That as soon as they get to a certain age, it's come on, we can help you.
So is it kind of like these life insurance adverts?
They feel like that. It's like, and you feel like, oh, have you thought your best days are past?
Join a bowls club.
Do you know, that's it. I walked past the sign the other day and it said, over 50, have you tried short lawn bowling? And you think, nah.
And then there's you. Wrestling, sword fighting,
climbing mountains,
martial arts.
I know, wild swimming, doing anything I possibly can do. And it's like, hang on a minute. And the thing
is it like a stereotype almost?
I think it's very stereotypical, because I see these adverts and they've kind of got, stereotypical images of men with pop beer bellies that have got grey hair. And you kind of imagine them, they're going out and getting stay pressed slacks to wear and slip on leather shoes with a little gold buckle, and a Fred Perry t-shirt with a coffee tan zip up jacket, and it's kind of like, because the thing is, that might have been the case a good few years ago, that was the fashion at the time, but guys my age grew up in the late 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
We're all going around wearing combat trousers and
What
jeans.
happened? What happened?
And it's like...
It's ageism, isn't it?
Yeah, I do find some of this advertising to try and encourage older people that are, I'm afraid, like, you're feeling a bit over the hill now, you know.
Don't try too hard.
Yeah, I read these adverts and I think these would be enough to say, look, just put me out, just shoot me now, you know, because you're making me feel like my life is over, and it's far from that, you know, it's far from that.
Personally, how do you overcome that kind of mentality, that kind of thing that's kind of presented to you?
I don't know. I think it's advertising. It's things that we see in the media.
Is it just completely ignore it?
Yeah, I think you've got to look past that kind of stuff.
Obviously, it's agitating.
It can be a bit grinding, because I do find a lot of these things when it comes to sport can seem to be a bit ageist. You know, that you get to a certain age, whether you're a lady or a gent, and suddenly all you're expected to be able to do is aqua aerobics or little march on the spot. Little march on the spot, or sit on a chair and use a rubber band. You know, and you think, hang on, this is fine, but we're far. When you're in your 50s, you're far from that.
It's kind of impressed upon you, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of makes you feel...
Try hard, but don't try too hard.
It reminds me a bit, again, probably a couple of years ago, I was listening to a radio programme, and that was about people hitting middle age. Hitting their middle age phase. I mean, you're a young chap, you wouldn't appreciate that, but I'm listening to it, and it's saying they had a specialist on there, some age... psychologist, a psychologist, to help people come to terms with things. And I remember one guy ringing in and saying, he'd reached 40, and did she think that it was too, should he still be wearing jeans and and doing this, and basically acting like he was when he was 30. Or should he now think that he should sort of like tone things down a bit?
What's it up to them to decide for you?
I know. I was listening to this, I'm thinking, what am I hearing here? And the psychologist actually said to him, no, when you get to 40, you've got to realise things change, and you're not a young person anymore.
That's ridiculous.
I was like, what are you talking about?
I mean, what is even considered as middle age anymore?
I know. It's silly.
It's completely variable.
It's so variable, but unfortunately some people will get to a certain age category and start thinking, I need to, this is the phrase, act my age.
Oh, that's horrible.
And it's act my age is kind of things that are impressed upon you by, as you say, the media and things, that you should be a certain way. You shouldn't be diving around and being like crazy and like you were when you're 25. Well, I'm sorry, I might be 57. That's my chronological age. It's 57. My mental age, I'm as fit in my head as I was when I was 25. Yeah. I want to do all the things that I always did when I was 25.
Yeah. I'm not giving up anything.
No, so
sticking with it.
Stick with it. Don't undersell yourself. Don't ever think you're too old to do something.
Well, again, that's the point of the podcast. It's staying with it. It's keeping on target.
That's the one about keeping on target. If you're listening to this and you've made it through the beginning of January and you've stayed doing whatever you decided your New Year's resolution was going to be for a fitter, healthier lifestyle, well done you. Stick with it. Let's stay motivated. Let's keep going.
Okay, so next question. How would you motivate someone to get into exercise? So I'm talking about somebody that doesn't necessarily want to do exercise, but you think, yes, I think they would benefit from exercise.
That's actually a very hard question.
Yeah.
That's a very hard question, because if somebody's not contemplating doing any exercise, we spoke about pre-contemplation, contemplation and things in the last episode.
Revisit the previous fitness podcast.
And I've met people many times in my life, both just people I've just bumped into and chatted to, as well as long known friends, that absolutely detest the idea of doing any physical fitness.
Yeah.
Absolutely detest it. I hate the idea of it. Don't want to do it. It's not for me to change their mind, because I'll be banging my head against the wall. I can spout to them, how great the benefits are of regular exercise and a good.
Which again, it doesn't have to be super
No,
intense.
yeah, I'll come to that again actually in a minute. But whether it be having a good nutritional intake or whether doing regular exercise, it doesn't have to be hard. It should be something that you enjoy. But if you really don't want to do it, you can't force somebody to do it. And unfortunately, I've found on different occasions where it's when somebody suddenly has a life-changing experience or a scare or something like that. It could be that they've had an accident and they've got to recover from that accident. It could be an illness, or the doctor has simply just said, "Oh, if you don't do something about your blood pressure, you've got
serious problems.
You've got serious problems." Something suddenly kicks in, and sometimes that's the factor that suddenly switches somebody and says, "Oh, I wish I hadn't been smoking. I wish I hadn't drunk so much. I wish I hadn't eaten so much, junk food. I wish I'd started doing some kind of fitness far earlier in my life."
Isn't that a story that was on the news? I think it was maybe a few weeks ago that I think it's again a man in his 50s who was like severely overweight, and he was basically told by his
If you don't
doctor,
do something about it,
you're not going to see 60.
Exactly.
Then, boom, got into fitness.
Sudden mindset change.
A few years later, he's in great shape.
Absolutely great shape. Now, when it comes to anything that fitness-wise and nutritional-wise, you could ask yourself, why do we do it? We do it because if you have a car, if you don't bother getting the oil changed, if you don't top up the water in the radiator, if you don't change the brake pads, you don't change the tyres, that car is going to last you for a certain amount of time before it starts grinding, it starts having issues, and then it's just going to die on you. That's our bodies. So all we can do is to try and maintain our vehicles, our bodies, as best that we can to give us the best shot of not just. I mean, we don't know. Nobody knows when the time is up. You don't know. As people always say, I could walk across the road tomorrow and get hit by a bus. You don't know.
Yeah.
Right? But you can give yourself the best shot possible for the longest life.
There you go. The fitter you are, the faster you'll cross the road. Therefore, you can miss the bus.
You can maybe be quick enough, your reactions can dodge out of the way. But you're giving yourself. It's like paying for life insurance. Taking care of yourself is giving you the best chance for a long life. But more importantly, since you don't know how long you're going to be around on this earth, more importantly, a trouble-free life.
Yeah.
So I would rather go through life so I can enjoy every moment I've got, being able to do my everyday activities, to be able to climb upstairs or run upstairs or do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, you don't want to kind of be in that state of, oh, I can't do that now.
Exactly. I mean, I'm going to get older. I will get older. I dare say in time things will slow down. My strength will decrease. My flexibility will decrease. But my job is to try and maintain it as long as possible.
To prevent that.
And hopefully stave off picking up illnesses, etc., etc. Keep my vehicle in the best possible condition that I can keep it in.
But total body MOT.
Yeah, so you've got to kind of look at it that you're treating yourself. You're looking after yourself. It is a self thing, yeah? It doesn't mean, I'm not trying to be even body negative to people that are carrying a few extra pounds when they shouldn't. I'm not going to force somebody to do something they don't want to do. And you can advise somebody and say, you'd probably benefit if you lost a few pounds of fat. Your blood pressure is going to go down. You're going to find doing everyday activities much easier. You're going to get more out of life. But it doesn't mean that somebody's not a beautiful person because they're overweight. They can be completely and utterly body confident and happy, and that's great. Everybody. It doesn't matter what your body shape or size is. You need that great positive mental attitude.
It's that homeostasis where you're happy.
Yeah, you're happy, but you can be really body positive and happy, but you can still find that because of your body shape, size, and the way you've looked after it, maybe you're a heavy smoker or drinker or whatever, that you can have issues. Doesn't matter how confident you are as a person, but you can still have issues. And so fitness and nutrition is just trying to help people have a good, trouble-free life.
Yeah, and even if you're kind of like in that state where you don't know if you want to get into fitness or go to the gym, you can always just go in and have a look, see what it's like. You don't have to immediately go in full guns blazing.
Well, that would, as we said in the last episode, that's the trouble with January. I noticed on Monday when I went into the gym, it's starting to calm down now.
Yeah, precisely as we said. We foretold this.
It happens every January. So we're coming towards the end of January. I think it was by 9 o'clock in the evening. Suddenly I was doing bench pressing and I sat up from one of my sets and it's like the whole...
Complete change from the weeks before.
Two people left in there.
Yeah.
And a week ago it would have been packed.
Yeah.
So when it comes to answering your question about how to motivate somebody to get them into exercise, you can't force them to do it, but you can try and help them to see the benefits of what a healthy lifestyle will give you in the long run.
Yeah.
Again, it's hard. A lot of people, when they're young, you're young, you've got so much life ahead of you, it's hard to see
past tomorrow.
Tomorrow, you're invincible, yeah? But when you suddenly...
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes, I've been there, and when you get to my age, you still feel invincible in your head, but you do notice that your body starts to have aches, pains. It's more prone to having injury if you're not careful. But again, going back to the gym or maintaining a healthy lifestyle helps to prevent those injuries.
Yeah. And in those cases, it's about moderating it.
Yeah,
it's not about stopping it. It's about moderating that injury and kind of adapting your exercise to and compensate.
Yeah. So, it's a hard question to answer, as I said at the beginning. You can't force anybody, but I'd like people to, hopefully, off their own back, get motivated to do something when they realise they're doing it for themselves, rather than finding ultimately they're motivated to do it because they've suddenly been told they have to do it because otherwise they're facing serious consequences. Yeah.
Final question.
Oh, final question.
Why is it important to maintain health and fitness?
I think I've probably covered
You've basically covered that.
I probably covered that in what I was saying before. It's for the long run.
Yeah.
To simply say it's for the long run. What I will say, though, is this, okay? Whoever's listening to this, what I'm going to say now really I'm pointing this to everybody listening, and I'm going to be honest, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be honest and truthful about what I say now. Whoever's listening to this, you know exactly what you need to do. It's as simple as that. You know exactly what you need to do. If you've got some kind of goals, you've got some goals, you say, I want to fit in a dress to go to a wedding. These jeans don't fit me anymore. I'm having problems climbing up the stairs. My breathing's heavy. I know I need to do something, So that's the simple fact. You know exactly what you need to do. So you need to stop pretending like you don't. So it's as simple as that. So people will say, I need to. People will say that. I really need to lose some weight. I really need to do this. I really need to do that. And then they kind of have self-denial on it.
Mm.
So they've got to stop pretending like you don't know what you need to do. You just need to do it. It is as simple and honest as that. You just need to do it. But you've got to remember, the conditions are never going to be perfect. People will say, I'm going to start a diet next week. I'll start going to the gym next week. When the 1st of January comes, I'm going to start.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. But the thing is, the conditions are never going to be perfect. There is never going to be that perfect time to start doing fitness.
You just do.
You've just got to do it. You're not going to feel motivated every day. It's just not going to be realistic. Yeah. And the stars are never going to be aligned to say, yes, this is the day that you start your new life. It's really, really, really simple. You've just got to do it. And as well as doing it, you've got to keep that consistency. Make it not something that you are going to do and stop. You need to integrate any kind of exercise routine into your everyday lifestyle.
Yeah, and you've got to want to do it.
And you will want to do it if you can get over those humps that we've mentioned. If you can, and that's the problem with January. People rush into it full steam and then fall flat on their face and go, and then it peels off. By the middle of the year, it's stopped. By the end of the year, they're wishing they hadn't stopped, then they'll start again in January. It's this up and down roller coaster, which can happen with when people say, I'm going to go on a diet, and they go on a diet, and then they get bored of the diet, and they stop the diet, and then they pack on the pounds again, and then they go, oh no, I better go on another diet, I'm going to change this diet, I'll go to this diet instead. And it's that roller coaster, up and down, because they're not being consistent. And going back to your question of exercise reversibility, you make the gains and you stop, you're going to lose all those gains, and then when you go back, you've got to regain all those gains.
Yeah.
So you need to be consistent, stick with it, small, make it fun, and hey presto, you can completely transform your life, both physically and mentally, by just having more active daily living and a better nutritional intake. Simple as that. Everybody listening knows exactly what they need to do. It's being able to do it is the prime factor. That's motivation.
Wise words, Buzz. Very wise words.
It is simple. It is very simple. I'm just going to quick sum up. You're a vehicle. You put fuel in the vehicle. If you don't burn that fuel off, your body is designed to store that fuel. So if you're putting more fuel in than you're burning, you're going to get fatter because your fat reserves are going to get bigger. If you put fuel in and burn fuel off and it's at the same rate, you're going to stay exactly, you're going to plateau, you're going to be where you are. Yeah. If you put less fuel in, but don't do any more physical exercise during your daily active living, but you say, okay, I'm not going to do this is basically being on a diet. I'm not going to change my daily active living because I don't like exercise, so I'm going to decrease my fuel intake. If you can stick with that decreased fuel intake, you will slowly lose body fat because if your daily calorie burn is more than your daily calorie intake, you will burn body fat. You will reduce that body weight, okay, from fat loss. If you say, I'm going to eat the same, but I'm going to up my exercise and burn more fuel because you're exercising more, but you're still taking in the same amount of food that you did before, equally, you're going to burn body fat off. You're going to lose body fat because you've increased your exercise output compared to your fuel intake. But if you find it's difficult, so if you've got, I'm going to just go for the physical side of it, that's one way of doing it. Or I'm not going to do the physical side, I'm just going to go for I'm going to decrease the fuel intake. That's another way. Diets usually make people unhappy, or I'm hungry and I'm not happy, so I'm going to nibble and eat something else. And people always come out with that, I've tried so many diets and nothing works, because diets are, I don't like diets myself. I don't like being hungry.
Yeah.
I'd rather exercise more.
Definitely.
And as I said in the last podcast, 1 pound of fat is equal to 3,500 calories.
Yeah.
If you break that down into 500 calories a day, if you decrease your food intake or your calorie intake through food and drink by 500 calories compared to what you normally have, so this is how simple it is, ladies and gentlemen. If you decrease it by 500 calories a day, you will therefore have lost 1 pound of body fat, which is a healthy 1 to 2 pound of body fat a week. But a pound of body fat a week is a healthy loss of body fat. But you've got to find that 500 calories less every day.
And that's the thing.
And that is the thing. However, if you do 250 calories of exercise more,
Yeah.
and you decrease your food intake by 250 calories, you found that 500
go.
calories, but you've only reduced your daily intake of food by 250 calories, and you've increased your body exercise by 250 calories.
There you go.
Much easier to do, much more enjoyable, much more beneficial for your body. It isn't difficult. As I say, we all know what we need to do, and it's achievable easily, but you must be consistent, because if you stop, exercise reversibility cuts in. Boom. Yeah, you don't. As I say, you don't want to be. You're not going to be motivated every single day, but you do need to make that. If you're going to make the change, you need to be positive. You've got to have that positive mental attitude. Stick with it and make it fun.
There we go.
There you go.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Maybe we will revisit the fitness topic in the months to come.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'd like to leave it is I can be waffling on as much as you want me to waffle on about this, that and t'other. But what would be really good is if we had
Some
questions and feedback from the listeners on certain areas that they want to say, okay.
Anything that we've covered in these two episodes.
What kind of fitness routines, or what would be, I mean,
what motivates you?
Yeah, tell us what motivates you. Help, you can help other people be motivated. But yeah, I'd love to come back and revisit fitness later on this year, and maybe we can do that by responding to feedback that we've had from
maybe
the
bring in a
listeners.
guest.
Bring in a guest, yeah, why not?
That'd be good.
Exactly.
So that neatly brings us into our word of the week. Word of the week. Word of the week.
Oh, we're doing this again. Word
Okay.
of the week. Word of the week.
Word of the week. Word of the week. Word of the week.
Word of the week.
Anyway, word of the week was expurge factor.
Expurge factor. What could expurge factor be?
I don't know. Do you want to know what the expurge factor means?
Well, I can help but notice that through our podcast this week, I have used the word factor a few times, saying this factor and that factor. So the factor has got to be a certain thing in it. Now, the key part of this has got to be expurge. Expurge. I don't know, it feels to me like, you're getting rid of something.
Any ideas? Any more ideas than that?
Expurge factor.
Unfortunately, Jack's not here today, so he can't help you.
Because Jack's not here, I haven't been bursting into laughter, to be honest with you. He's terrible. He always sets me off.
In a good way. In a good way.
Yeah, Jack, you're great, man. But you do make me laugh.
Well, he'll be back next week.
Hopefully. Expurge. It's the factor causing you to get rid of something. I don't know.
Okay. Expurge factor. Something that wakes you up is an expurge factor. For most of us, it's an alarm clock, but it could be anything from a chirping bird to a noisy neighbour.
Oh, right. So it's just to do with you're asleep.
Yeah.
Something wakes you up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've started snoring. Tina, my wife, wakes up. I'm her expurge factor.
Now, this does have personal significance to
yes.
me because I recently got the best alarm clock known to humanity.
Oh, okay.
You put the batteries in
I
it.
put the batteries in it. And honestly, I was impressed.
Oh, yeah.
I was impressed.
Deal of the century.
Bit nerdy for me anyway, but yeah, it's a very good alarm clock.
It's a Dalek alarm clock.
Yeah,
And it's not. We're not talking like a bit of a Dalek. It's an entire Dalek alarm clock.
a reasonable size one as well.
Definitely.
I just love the way it lights up, and it kind of like it's designed to look like it's actually elevating,
Yeah.
and you have to pat it on the head to turn it off.
It says it, and when the alarm goes off, it says exterminate.
That's it. And all sorts of other phrases.
And all sorts of other phrases.
It's actually really quite good.
Yeah, really cool.
It's quite good because when your alarm clock goes off and I wake up, I go, yeah, I like that.
Exterminate!
It makes me wake up with a smile.
You
on my
are
face.
an enemy of the Daleks.
You will make a great Dalek, or something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so your Dalek, I can't think of the word there,
Expurge factor.
is your expurge factor.
There we are.
You're being expurged by your Dalek. How weird.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to our first teaser.
Ooh,
For the next episode.
Teaser for the next episode.
Okay, so I'm going to say the following phrase.
Okay. Oh, okay. And so
I've got a phrase.
This is for the listeners to try and guess.
Yes.
All right, leave them in suspense.
They are secret, super secret, don't talk about them, they don't exist, or do they?
Ooh.
Ooh,
What could you be
what
talking
could that
about?
mean?
What could you be talking
Please comment what you think the possible topic for the next episode could be in the comments. We'd love to see what you think.
I'm intrigued.
I'll say it one more time. They are secret, super secret, don't talk about them, they don't exist, or do they?
Ooh.
Find out in the next episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes. You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts. Check out the Zak Wylde Productions social media pages on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. Please get in contact, we'd love to find out how you're listening to us. So get in touch in the comments and don't forget to check out Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon to become an official ZWP patron today. So that's a big, super motivated, super fit goodbye from Zak.
And that's an Expurge Factor, stay on target from Buzz.
Oh yeah!
Oh yeah! Hoo-ha!